Hi, I'm Katie Ziskind. I'm the owner of Wisdom Within Counseling and Coaching. I help distant couples, distant sexually and distant emotionally, find a sense of meaningful connection, build long-lasting love, and overcome cycles of conflict and disconnection and fighting. So you can learn how to build a long-lasting, secure emotional bond, overcome anxiety, overcome anger, and really start to connect on a deep level by heading over to wisdomwithinct.com. That's wisdomwithinct.com. Today we're going to be talking a bit about attachment styles and how these play into a conflict dynamic. So in every long-term relationship, you get past the honeymoon stage, you're done with dating, you're now married, you've had children, maybe you don't have children, but you've been together for a substantial period of time. You're considered a long-term couple. You have been together a number of years. You have both a positive dance or a positive cycle, and you have a negative dance or a cycle of emotional flooding, anger, triggers, and hurt. So you and your partner love and care about each other so much that you actually know how to trigger each other the absolute best of anyone in the world. So it's a blessing and a curse to have a beautiful, loving partnership. When we are in a romantic partnership that's long-term or a long-term marriage, we have to become aware of the dance or aware of the cycle. So think of you and your partner in a beautiful, positive moment where you felt connected, excited, maybe there was erotic desire, maybe you felt loved, special, and important. That's your positive dance, and you can learn how to create that anytime. And I teach you how to do this in relationship coaching and couples therapy sessions. However, if one of you gets triggered, we have mirror neurons in our brain. So we actually can create unintentionally and subconsciously a negative feedback loop where one of you gets triggered or emotionally flooded, angry, upset, tense, right? And then the other person ends up in that same state. And that creates a positive or actually negative feedback loop where now you're both triggered, you're yelling, you're giving the silent treatment, there's stonewalling, there's a cycle of avoidance emotionally and sexual avoidance. So one way that you can work from this negative cycle into the positive is by understanding attachment styles. So when we are young children, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, a primary caregiver, maybe a grandparent, maybe a biological parent, maybe adoptive parent, an aunt or uncle, an adult in your life was a primary caregiver for you. And they set up your attachment style. So we have an anxious, on a basic level, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and secure attachment. A person with an anxious attachment style craved connection as a child, craved reassurance, and craved intimacy. And so in the marital dynamic, this person is often the pursuer. So we're going to learn some terms today. We have the pursuer and the distancer. The pursuer seeks connection and seeks closeness and seeks intimacy and seeks quality time together. However, usually an anxious person finds an avoidant person. And so a person with an avoidant attachment style had a primary caregiver in young childhood years, elementary years, who was inconsistent in love. Maybe domestically violent, perhaps an alcoholic, or had an addiction or a drug addiction of some kind. A person with an avoidant attachment style avoids closeness. They have associated closeness, intimacy, love with chaos, with panic, and with anxiety. They've experienced childhood trauma. Both people who have an anxious attachment style and an avoidant attachment style have experienced childhood trauma. A person who has an anxious attachment style didn't know when they were going to get love. So maybe a parent was loving one moment and then the next moment the parent withdrew affection. So they crave that closeness. And a person who is avoidant had parents that oftentimes were mostly not caring, mostly not nurturing, mostly not affectionate. And so they really avoid closeness with other people. It's safer. There's a sense of hyper independence in someone who has an avoidant attachment style. So oftentimes I work with couples where one person has an avoidant attachment style and one person has an anxious attachment style. And this creates an intense high conflict fight or also an intense cycle of stonewalling and the silent treatment. So I give you practical interventions to help you improve your marriage. I help you balance emotional intimacy with your needs and wants and your partner's needs and wants. And also we talk about everything from sexual desire to sexual expectations to what touch men and how we start to shift back into a healthy, erotic, frequent, passionate, and pleasure-oriented sex life. A lot of times we're having obligatory sex or sex out of obligation. We're also having sex that's boring, dull, painful. We're not actually embodied as sexual beings. And if you have unresolved conflict or you're stuck in a negative cycle of emotional disconnection, that impacts your sex life. So from this video, one thing that you can do is to start to understand your attachment style. Understand, hey, do I seek connection in a fight? Do I want to get closer and want to fix it right away? Or am I a person that just would love to avoid? Do I avoid these feelings? Do I want to do something else? Do I want to pretend it's not even happening right now? So notice if you are the person that seeks connection, you are a pursuer and you may have an anxious attachment style. And when you have an anxious attachment style, in that moment when your partner cannot be there for you, self-soothe. Emotional regulation skills are amazing. Take a bath, take a shower, go dancing, have a delicious, nutritious meal, go for a walk outside, listen to your favorite song and sing. Do something that helps you pay attention to yourself. Take care of your inner child that, didn't get love consistently. So we have to be our own primary caretaker. After both of you have calmed down, you can talk about this, but in the moment, just know that because your partner has an avoidant attachment style, they are withdrawing and you cannot get your needs met from them in that moment. If you are a person with an avoidant attachment style, your challenge and the way to heal is going to be to tolerate small doses of intimacy. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel risky. You're going to say, wow, is this intimacy going to lead to disappointment? Love has just led to disappointment. I can't count on people. I couldn't count on my primary caregiver or my parent. They've always let me down. They've betrayed me. They've hurt me. And so within your marriage, those same narratives are going to come up. You're going to say, well, I'm calculating the risk here and it seems better to avoid. But you're going to start to learn to tolerate small bits of intimacy, small conversations about emotional expression and emotional vulnerability. And over time, both of you can start to shift into a secure attachment, which means you're not triggering each other as severely and you're actually calmly and effectively handling challenges. And I help you shift into that secure attachment. The other thing that we need to talk about is when we're angry, anger is only the tip of the iceberg. When you look at an iceberg, you can only see like 10% of the iceberg. The massive amount of that iceberg is underneath the ocean. You can't see it. So when you're angry, when you're flooded, when you're defensive, you're critical, you're cutting each other off, there is tension in your body. You can feel your heart rate skyrocketing, your blood is boiling, or you just want to walk out of the room and pretend that nothing's happening and you're having a bodily reaction. That means you're flooded. And when you act out of anger, there are usually deeper core emotions that I help you verbalize, which is the key to effectively communicating. So when you're angry, you're probably feeling emotionally neglected. You're probably feeling insignificant. You're feeling hurt or betrayed or a sense of mistrust or suspicion. You're feeling really sad. You might also have fears that come up. We all have core fears. Fears of abandonment, fears of rejection, fears of inadequacy, right? So fears of abandonment are, oh my goodness, my partner's gonna leave me for someone more beautiful, for someone more handsome, for someone younger, for someone older, for someone with whatever, who makes more money, who has a different type of body. Fears are very real. We also have fears of rejection. Even if I try my very best, I'm still gonna face rejection. That fear of rejection is so loud sometimes. We also have fears of vulnerability or fears of intimacy. So these come from childhood trauma, and it's why even get close, right? It's only gonna lead to another letdown. And so I stay isolated on this rock and avoid and don't actually try to work through the conflict. And so I help you work through these things with your partner. And really, these fears are protective mechanisms. These fears developed because an adult or a primary caregiver in your life didn't treat you the way that you deserved with respect and love and made you feel like you weren't good enough in some way and belittled you and criticized you, even if it was just a few moments, a few sprinkling moments, or for some people, it was the majority of the childhood that this happened. It's really important to start to share with your partner your fears. So instead of yelling, instead of talking about the dishes in the sink again or the laundry again, it's not really about the laundry or the dishes. It's about the core fears I'm afraid of, I'm worried about, I'm concerned. My biggest fear is that you're going to find someone better. So I isolate. Saying that is so much more effective for building intimacy and a strong, secure emotional bond than it is to yell. So next time you feel yourself yelling or giving the silent treatment to your partner, I want you to tune into your core fears. What do you fear more than anything? And I can help you articulate these and identify these as well. When it comes to building a healthy relationship, a strong, amazing emotional bond, and a healthy sex life, right? Being able to break through cycles where, I work with couples that don't hold hands. I work with couples that haven't had sex in 5-10 years. I work with couples where one person wants to have sex and the other person shuts them down and rejects them and pushes them away. And this can be incredibly painful to be stuck in a cycle of both sexual avoidance and emotional avoidance. So I help you get playful. I help you build a meaningful connection, both emotionally and sexually. And we never learn growing up or in school what emotional intimacy is or how to be vulnerable. So we learn about math and science and calculus and, how to pay our taxes, but we never ever learn what emotional intimacy looks like, how we create it, and how we maintain it. So just like you get a car, you buy a car, you're going to have to maintain that car if you want it to keep running. You have to put gas in it, you have to get some oil changes, probably some new tires at some point, put some new windshield wipers on it. Maintenance is very important, and that is oftentimes a missing ingredient in couples that feel disconnected, lonely, rejected, and are avoiding emotional conversations or avoiding conflict. And I teach you how to break the cycle of high conflict fighting, and I also teach you how to break the cycle of the silent treatment and how to break the cycle of sexual avoidance. All of these are deeply intertwined and deeply connected. So a lot of times it's a process of learning how to open up, learning how to talk, learning how to really accept influence. We do skills and techniques like the gentle startup. We look at what the function of these self-protective survival mechanisms have been, what you've been through in your life that's brought you to this moment, and how you and your partner can see each other as a resource, as a loving, wise, stable rock, instead of as an enemy or as a trigger. So if you are looking to break the cycle of high conflict fighting, break the cycle of the silent treatment, have a safe place to talk about emotions and also your sex life, I would love to support you. I'm Katie Ziskind. I'm a certified sex therapy informed professional. I'm a Gottman Level 2 marriage therapist. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in a number of different states. And I specialize with couples who need help, who haven't done well in maybe traditional couples therapy, or a couples therapist has picked sides in the past, or really didn't have the effective training, the extensive specialized training to go into both the emotional and sexual intimacy realms. So I love helping couples who are stuck in avoidance, tension cycles, angry cycles, or the silent treatment, emotionally and sexually, build a playful, erotic, passionate, loving bond that really feels meaningful, connected, where you both can feel valued, you can both feel appreciated, and you can both feel special. So you can head over to wisdomwithinct.com. That's wisdomwithinct.com. And I would love to support you and your partner.